I want to start my show this morning talking about a situation that happened to me about 20 years ago. So 20 years ago, in fact, it was longer than that. It was probably 25 years ago. I was interviewing for a television job. I was still a local sportscaster, and I sat down with a man named Jock Knotts. He was a smart man. He ran Como TV in Seattle's newsroom. His name was Jock Knotts. He's a very smart guy, and we were talking about stuff, and I'm a young sportscaster, and he's a veteran manager guy of a newsroom. Jacques Knotts was his name. He was very smart. It's probably French. Sounded smart. You ever met a guy named Jacques, and you're like, nah, he doesn't work much. Every guy I've ever met, Joy Taylor joining me, that's ever been called Jacques, you're like, that guy's employed all the time. So I'm sitting down with Jacques Knotts, and he tells me something that I've never forgotten, and I've thought about this a lot. He says, we've had some cutbacks here, and I just had to get rid of 7 people. And I said, ooh, yeah. And he said, but that was the right move except one. What do you mean? He said, well, 6 of them either couldn't get work or they couldn't get a job as good as the one they had here. So I was right. One of them got a better job than she had here. It was a woman. He goes, I made a mistake on that. And he said, listen, if you get rolled, if you get whacked, if you get fired, if you get let go, and you don't get a job for a long time or you don't get a better one, maybe that's on you. He goes, but if you get a better job, I made a mistake. And he said, I made a mistake on this woman, and I'm trying to hire her back. She was right, I was wrong, I made a big mistake. And she went on to anchor and be very popular, and he never did get her back. She went on to a very good career, and he's like, I made a mistake. And my point is, when people leave you and they flourish besides or beyond you, maybe it's no longer on them, it's on you. If people leave companies, people leave teams, and they do very well without you, it's sort of a sign that maybe you're wrong and they were right. I want to take you to 5 years ago with the Oklahoma City Thunder. They had James Harden, Kevin Durant, Serge Ibaka, Reggie Jackson was a rookie, head coach Scott Brooks, and they had Kanye Westbrook. So 5 years later, let's look at what has happened to those players. Kevin Durant was having, before the injury, the most efficient year of his career. James Harden is now arguably the MVP. Serge Ibaka in a handful of games with the Raptors has been absolutely a terrific fit. And Reggie Jackson's a darn good player for the Pistons. Oh, by the way, Scott Brooks coaching for the Wizards. They're 3rd in the East, and many believe they're the only team that can beat LeBron. They all left Kanye. How are they doing? What's left is Kanye Westbrook's 58 points and a loss at home to a sub-500 team, Portland. That's what left. 39 shots last night. In the last 4 games, Westbrook's averaged 45 points. Oklahoma City's 0-4. In that stretch, he's shooting under 30% in threes, but he keeps jacking them up. And you think I'm crazy for questioning his MVP credentials? Talent keeps landing in OKC and flourishing when they leave. Interesting. Kevin Durant said, no more. Harden said, get me out of here. Coach got fired. He's doing well. It's no longer on them, my friends. I'm going to give you a classic example of how Russell Westbrook sees the world. So in the game last night, it was very, very close. OKC trailed by 3. Let's run the inbounds play. Russell Westbrook here can tie the game, and he jacks up another 3, and it misses. Listen to what he said. This is Russell Westbrook math after the game. Here's what he said about that 3.
It's got to be frustrating to have a career night. You're knocking those down, and then
yeah, it is. But at the same time, man, we put ourselves in that position where we should be defending at a high level, and that's definitely shots that I'll live with because I make those 9 out of 10. Just happen to miss that one.
I'll make that shot 9 out of 10 times. It's interesting because Westbrook shot 9 3-pointers last night. In his career, when he has shot 9 or more 3-pointers, Oklahoma City is 5-29. What he did there is what they call degenerate gambler math. Hey, man, I went to Vegas. I won $4,000. You took 12. Took you $8,000 to win 4. It's called a degenerate. Russell Westbrook's math. I make that shot 9 out of 10 times. No, your team is 5-29 when you take that shot 9 or more times. Let me give you another number about Kanye Westbrook. He took 30 more shots than any other player on his team. In the last decade, that's only happened one other time. Kobe Bryant's final game. That's your MVP? That's your MVP. Okay. And I'm crazy for calling him out. Send me the hate mail. Keep it coming. I've told you, folks, for 30 years I've been an NBA fan. And the media falls in love with dynamic 6'3" point guards who shoot 42%. I laughed at Gilbert Arenas, Derrick Rose, Allen Iverson, Steph Marbury. I said they're great. Nobody's going to want to play with them. Stevie Francis, Damon Stoudemire. People want to play with Kawhi Leonard and LeBron and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Last night, they call it degenerate gambling math. I won $3,000 in Vegas. Dude, you took 9. You lost 6. It took you 9 to win 3, right? In his world, I make that triple 9 out of 10 times. No. When you shoot that puppy 9 or more times in a game, your team is 5-29. Stop shooting those. Stop going to Vegas and gambling. You suck at it. Stop shooting 3s. You're horrible at it. But when people leave your company or your presence, and they do better without you, James Harden, Scott Brooks, Reggie Jackson, Serge now fitting in Toronto. It's not about anything but you anymore. Last night didn't help him in the MVP race. To me, it put a nail in the coffin. It illustrated what I've been barking about here, and hopefully I stop barking about it because hopefully people will now realize how much more valuable Kawhi Leonard, LeBron, and James Harden are in that race.